Warriors and Guardians of Christ's Kingdom here on Earth. Welcome back to the channel. It's Guardian Mo's back online making another video. So in my previous video, I was talking about people like Andre Walker and these influencers vouching their support for reform. It's gotten a lot of attention on my channel, and I think the reason being is because this rupture between Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage has actually exposed the true colours of a lot of characters, not just people within the Reform Party, but also journalists and influencers, people like Andre Walker, June Slater, Darren Grimes. These three have sold their souls to the devil, to Nigel Farage's whole scam party. They are sellouts. Now, Alex Phillips and Matt Goodwin are now being added into the conversation. I see people going back and forth in my comment section talking about these two. I want to feature Matt Goodwin in this video. I want to show you an interview between Matt Goodwin and Ben Habib. It was on GB News. It was released 2 weeks ago, so I hope I'm not too long overdue. But anyways, it's still relevant. There's good information to be taken from this interview. I want you to listen to what Ben Habib has to say, what kind of points he's making. Why is he telling you that you should not be supporting reform? There's two key points, okay, that you need to take away from this video. And I want you to pay attention to how Matt Goodwin reacts and responds to Ben Habib. Pay attention to his body language, and you tell me in the comment section below whether Matt Goodwin has sold his soul to reform, whether he demonstrates good journalistic integrity in this specific interview, and whether he can be trusted. But let's hand the stage over to Ben Habib. Pay attention, because this is very, very important. Guardian Mo's clocking out.
Joining me now is former Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Ben Habib. Ben, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us this evening. Now, as I just said, Reform averaging 26% of the national vote, 220,000 members, 100,000 more than the Tories, on course to win a parliamentary by-election. You've written today in the Telegraph that Nigel Farage is incapable of building the sort of breadth and depth of high-caliber people required to form a transformational government. So if this is failure, Ben, what does success look like to you?
So you have to distinguish, Matt, between polling well and being popular and actually being able to deliver for the country. And they're two completely different things. Nigel Farage is a fantastic campaigner. He's fantastic at banging the drum, a bit like Boris Johnson. And you might recall Boris Johnson got an 80-seat majority. He did fantastically well in that general election, and then he absolutely let the country down. He did not deliver Brexit as he promised he would, locked us up. The economy emerged in deep, deep damage. And Nigel Farage, I'm afraid, is of the same cloth. So he's a fantastic campaigner, is doing terrifically well in the polls, but that isn't the key issue for me. The key issue for me, and frankly anyone else in this country who cares about this country, is whether or not reform is capable of delivering the country away from the precipice on which we now stand. And we stand on the precipice of constitutional, economic, cultural disaster. And Nigel Farage, well, you asked me a question, Matt, so let me, if I may just finish. And Nigel Farage, on all those key issues, at least the way reform is structured at the moment, will not be able to deliver for the country. So it's academic for me.
You don't know that. Let me just put something to you, if I may.
Matt, I absolutely know that. And what you must not do, Matt, is conflate popularity with effectiveness.
So
they're not the same thing.
A question I have, lots of people online saying that reform is not radical enough, it's too soft, it's moved to the centre. This is a party that is campaigning in its manifesto to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, for an immediate freeze on all future immigration, for an end to health tourism, for an end to migrants having immediate access to the welfare state. I mean, if this is not radical, if this is not a challenge to the political establishment in this country, then where do you want to go?
So, just to be clear, for me, it is about having the right structures in the party so that you can attract the high caliber of people that you will need in order to make the policies that are required to save the country, be able to draft the legislation. Let me finish, Matt. It's very important. Draft the legislation to allow any incoming pro-British government to deliver the policies that they wish to deliver, hit the road running a bit like Donald Trump did when he came into office, and for the country, therefore, to be saved. Now, the problem with Nigel Farage and reform is that Nigel Farage is reform and reform is Nigel Farage. And there is no structure. They say they've democratized the party. They say that they've got checks and balances in place. They haven't. I've looked at the detail. We can go through it if you want to, but they haven't done it. And what's happened to Rupert Lowe was an accident waiting to happen. Anyone with an independent form of thinking, anyone who's going to criticize or question the direction of travel which Nigel Farage wished to go in was going to be set aside. And that means that you will
talk
not
a bit
get,
about that in detail.
That means you will not get the great minds, the fearless thinkers coming to join reform, the kinds of people that we need in reform to save
Ben,
this country.
If I may,
that's my issue.
You were deputy leader of reform. I understand that when you were deputy leader, the party had around 60,000 members. I know you've been quite critical of Zia Youssef, the chairman of the party currently. Under Zia Youssef, the party now has 220,000 members. So he's doing something right, isn't he?
So let's just get something straight. The grassroots of reform are in turmoil. If you want to win elections, let's just get down to brass tacks, because that's where you want to go. If you want to win elections, you have to have grassroots. In the last 6 months, Zia Youssef has set aside dozens and dozens and dozens of former grassroots members of reform, people with whom I have campaigned shoulder to shoulder in various elections where
They've got 400 branches now, haven't they?
Or other people have been. You're not following the detail. Listen to what I have to say. People
I've been speaking at reform branches over the last 3 months, so I'm pretty familiar with what's going on in the grassroots. This is a party that was only 2 years old, and it's averaging 26% of the vote then.
So you keep going back to the polls. You keep confusing and conflating popularity with the ability to deliver for the country.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is that you want, Ben, apart from a change of structure, because you said today that you want a new party headed by Rupert Lowe.
I want to change the structure. I want a party which is capable of tolerating other people beyond Nigel. Nigel, frankly, is such a big character, such a big campaigner, that the party desperately needs checks and balances in place on the leadership, so that other people who
Nigel's also the only non-establishment politician in this country. He's won 2 nationwide elections with 2 different parties. I'm just being real with you. I look at his critics and they've not won anything.
Matt,
and this is a guy who's won 2 national elections.
Matt, it's not a matter of just winning an election. You've got to be able to deliver for the country when you win the election. And reform is not capable of doing that the way it is structured. The fact
you change countries by winning elections. You change policies by winning elections. That's how you do it.
You keep interrupting. There's no point winning an election if the policies you have are pointless and the individuals that you've got are substandard and incapable of delivering it.
Leaving the ECHR is not a pointless policy, Ben.
Do you know what the last pronunciation of Nigel Farage on the ECHR was? Do you know what it was, Matt? It wasn't to leave the ECHR. It was to have a referendum on the ECHR. That is where Nigel's mind is on the ECHR. Nigel wants a referendum. The last thing we need is a referendum on the ECHR.
Well, this debate is going to continue, Ben. This debate is going to continue. I'm sorry, we've run out of time. That's State of the Nation.